Maruti Suzuki studio at the Auto Expo 2020. Today we have with us a very special guest, environmentalist and wildlife conservationist Nirit Datta. Nirit, you're doing some fantastic work and it is so good to see you here at the Maruti Suzuki
Thank you for having
studio.
me over here at the Maruti Suzuki studio, and I'm super pumped up to be here.
Yes, we're super pumped up to have you here. Have you got a chance to see any of the cars? Have you been around the Maruti Suzuki pavilion?
Yeah, so I was basically taking a stroll around the area and talking about the designs that Maruti Suzuki have come up with. It's totally enthralling to see and quite aesthetic, and I'm pretty much excited about the Future E, the concept Future E. So I didn't see such type of design in India in the past. So I'm pretty much excited about it.
Nirit, we ask all our guests in the studio this question because I think everyone has one. A Maruti Suzuki story. What's yours?
Of course, the big fat family car of India, Maruti Suzuki Wagon-R. So that was the first car that our family bought, and it's still continuing. We are still continuing with it. I guess it was bought around 10 years back, the Wagon-R, and we have fantastic memories. Long trips, long night trip with my friend. So of course, this is this fantastic memory that I have with the Maruti Suzuki brand and Wagon-R. I love that car because at least I guess if I'm going out with 6 friends of mine, they can easily fit in the car.
Yeah, it becomes a family car and makes so many different memories. And Nirit, interestingly enough, you used to work as an engineer.
Yeah.
And then you basically quit your job and you started to talk about the environment. So how did that shift come about?
So basically, it's quite an interesting story. I was always among animals since my childhood days, right? And then when class 12 happened, of course, being from an Indian family, engineering is something that is always shoved down our throats, right? Then I went on to complete my engineering, but I am a proud engineer because I enjoy the process of being an engineer, right? And then I went on to work for a very big corporate, and somewhere down the line, I felt after 6 months that this is not what I am meant for. Because the job that I got was not a mediocre job. It was a very big corporate, and being a fresher, the salary that I was getting over there was quite huge. But 6 months down the line, I was feeling a bit suffocated. Right? The only time when I felt happy was when salary was getting credited to my bank account. And deep down,
As we all are.
and deep down, I realized that wildlife and environment is something where my soul lies. And we always complain about change. I thought, why not me being the change? Right? All of a sudden, without even consulting anybody, I decided to quit my job. I was there in Bangalore at that time, and I didn't go back home because home is a comfort zone. I didn't want to go back home. I wanted to hustle. So for the next 1 month, it was a very tough period because I didn't want to ask money from my parents. I started working as a waiter in a pub. Very few people know about because no work is small.
Yes.
Every work is big,
Yeah.
right? So then for 1 month, I tried to figure out what can I do next, right? Now I got a lot of opportunities to work as a naturalist in wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. And I got a lot of opportunities to work for NGOs. But deep down, I felt that I have been working with animals, right? There are millions of children like me who have been working with animals, right? But the biggest problem...
Take me through that. Take me through that process. When you say you were surrounded by animals, when you were fond of animals, take me through that entire experience of yours.
Exactly. So right from my childhood days, bats, birds, Asian palm civets, dogs, cats, I was always into turtles and tortoise. I was always into rescues and treatment, right? And from the past 6.5 years, I've shifted my focus to snake conservation and snake bite mitigation. And I've rescued 150 plus snakes across the country. Because snakes are something, every year around 50,000 people get affected in India due to snake bites. Either they die or they suffer, right? And it is we, the human, who are to blame for, right? So I've been working in this sector for the past 6.5 years. So when I quit my job, I was figuring out what to do next. Then I figured out the biggest problem of the Indian education system is the education system is not centric to wildlife and environment. So I wanted to reform this thing, right? So I thought I'm good at public speaking, I'm good at making people laugh. Why not combine this thing in the form of a talk show, right? And after months of hustle, after support from a lot of corporates across India, I started doing my own talk show. And so far, I've done my sessions in 11 colleges and 50 schools and impacted 9,000 plus students across the country in the past 1 year.
Nirit, can you take us through a little bit about your workshops that you conduct?
So basically, I don't use it on workshop because when you use it on workshop, the students generally think there's some corporate speaker coming to teach them something related to the studies. I try to play with this psychology, right? I use it on talk show, right? See, I'm not a PhD guy or a wildlife expert. I'm just a common man traveling across the country, teaching common man about the responsibilities for planet Earth, Mother Nature, right? So my talk shows generally revolve around use of technology, use of innovation, and use of desi jugaad to solve your wildlife and environmental issues. And this is something that has been done for the first time in India, because we engineers are always asked to solve human-related issues. We're never asked to solve environment or wildlife-related issues. This is what I try to do, because my sessions are something different. Because at the end of the day, most of the wildlife sessions you see across the country, whichever sessions I have visited personally, people tend to sleep. I always make sure my sessions are psychologically impacting with thought-provoking statements, rich visualizations, and an essence of stand-up comedy to make sure that the audience are always up on the toes and they are engaged throughout the session. And once my talk show is done, I always give, whichever school I'm going or college I'm going, I always give them certain projects that they can work upon. Maybe they can build chairs using plastic bottles. Then we have Project Lights Out, and what happens when a school gets tied up to me for Project Lights Out, they select a particular month and a particular day every week. And on that particular day, they turn off the electricity of the school for 2 hours. So that's how you conserve electricity. You're conserving energy. And just imagine if I manage to reach out to 1,000 colleges or schools in a single year, they're implementing this thing, where we are going to reach in terms of sustainability.
Yes, absolutely. Great work that you're doing there. Tell me, what are your plans for the future?
To be honest, I'm not sure about what lies ahead in the future, because what I'm trying to do, probably it's the road that has never been traveled. Conservation.
But it is more relevant than ever before.
Yes, because conservation speaking as a profession, I've never heard this thing before. I've never seen this thing happening. So what my plan ahead in the future is, I will be launching my organization on 15th of March, which will go by the name of Environmental Extremists India. So I have a team of 60 young people from across the country, and most of them I've never met. It's all networking through social media. And I want to brandish more and more youngsters like me who can go to schools and colleges and interact with students. At the same time, I want to take my community-based projects to the next level. Let me share a small incident. Around 6 months back, I carried out a small experiment across 7 cities of India with a set of 40 interns, right? And to be honest, out of those 40 interns, around 35 interns I've never met. So we were all channelizing through the social media and WhatsApp group, right? So I gave them a target of getting tied up to 30 foot joints, right? So the target was 30. What they did, within 1 month, they got tied up to 51 foot joints across the country. And what the tie-up was all about. These foot joints won't use plastic straws and plastic bags. And we got them connected to the manufacturers, not the dealers, the manufacturers of paper straws and paper bags, so that they can get all these sustainable items at a lesser price. So these 51 cafes, we made sure that they are having a sustainable way of operation. Now just imagine, on a yearly basis, a single foot joint uses a minimum of 50,000 plastic straws. I'm not even talking about the plastic bag. I'm talking about the plastic straw. 50,000 into 50 foot joints. That's a huge number.
Yes, absolutely.
And if every citizen, every civilian takes up this responsibility as a common man, we don't have to think about the environment.
You mentioned you worked with young interns. So how was the experience working with this younger generation, and what advice would you give them?
They're quite energetic. And the best part about my country, I don't know about other country, but my country is, I can see that change in the youngsters in the upcoming generation about their concern for Mother Nature, right? But whenever I interact with young students, right, I always tell them one thing. You don't need to have a degree in the life science background or wildlife science background or biology background in order to be a wildlife conservationist or an environmentalist. So if you're someone who doesn't break away that small nest of a bird that has been built in your home, or if you're someone who cares to remove that small snake from the middle of the road, or if you're someone who refrains from using plastic straws and plastic bags, my friend, feel free to call yourself a wildlife conservationist, feel free to call yourself an environmentalist, because it's our small acts of responsibility which matters the most. And the next big thing that I always advise them, it's good to blabber on social media. Social media activism is good. You spread a lot of awareness, but action speaks louder than words. So I always ask them to reciprocate your social media activities in the form of real world activities, because I've seen a lot of youngsters, they are uploading a lot of posts, these plastic straws that we are using are killing the turtles, the whales, but I see them drinking a lemonade in a foot joint using a plastic straw. So instead of being a social media warrior, you also need to be a real world warrior.
Yeah, you need to walk the talk.
Yes.
And, if we talk about obviously conserving the environment, the future really is green mobility. So what are your views on that?
green mobility is something that is the need of the hour. Mobility needs to be green for the future. The carbon emission needs to be cut down,
Yes.
right? And I'm very happy and excited about what Maruti Suzuki is implementing through its Mission Green Million. I'm very happy to be a part of it.
You mentioned the Mission Green Million. Yes, it is a fantastic initiative taken by Maruti Suzuki, to get more greener cars out there. What is your opinion of it?
See, I've always maintained the fact that engineers have a huge role to play when it comes to biodiversity conservation. And using tech, tech and innovation is something that is solving each and every issue out over there. We are reaching the moon, we are reaching the Mars. Why can't we solve our wildlife and environmental or biodiversity problems using tech and innovation? So engineering has a huge role to play. And this is exactly what Maruti Suzuki is doing. Automobile engineering. And I've always felt not only the civilians, not only the government, it's also the big corporate that needs to step up. And I'm very happy that what Maruti Suzuki is doing. They're stepping up the game, green mobility and Mission Green Million.
Setting an example right from the top. Thank you so
Exactly.
much, Nirit. It was such a pleasure talking to you, and I hope you always remain as passionate as you are about the cause, the real cause that you're actually fighting for, to save Mother Earth. Thank you so much for being here in the Maruti Suzuki studio.
Thanks so much.
Right, and for those of you that are watching, I hope you're liking what you see. And if you do, you know what to do. Share using the hashtag Maruti Suzuki Studio and the hashtag Maruti Suzuki AE20.